Hello, and welcome to the Community IT Innovators Technology Topics Podcast, where we discuss nonprofit technology, cybersecurity, tech project implementation, strategic planning, and nonprofit IT careers. Find us at communityit.com.
Should I just talk because you're going to edit it all down?
I am going to edit it all down, but let me go ahead and do just a quick introduction. Welcome, everyone, to the Community IT Technology Topics Podcast. My name is Carolyn Woodard. I'm your host. And today I'm excited to talk with our Director of IT Consulting, Steve Longenecker, about some recently announced changes to free nonprofit discounted licenses that are available to nonprofits. So, Steve, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Steve Longenecker. As Carolyn said, I'm the Director of IT Consulting at Community IT. I've been at Community IT for over 20 years now and love talking to nonprofits about their IT. And I'm happy to talk to you today, Carolyn, about the changes that Microsoft is introducing to their software and services that they provide to nonprofits in the United States.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to help us understand what's going on, which I feel like is still evolving, and Microsoft seems to be still clarifying. And I just want to say, as a managed services provider, we provide outsourced IT exclusively to nonprofit clients. So when we're working with clients, we're always helping them sign up for every discount they can qualify for. And some of those are through, third parties, some through Microsoft, some through Google. So we do have a lot of experience with what our clients and nonprofits qualify for now. So I thought it might be good to start out with at up until July 1st, what could nonprofits get discounted or free from Microsoft?
Sure. Actually, I'll back up and not go into the details, but I will say that, back when I first worked at Community IT in, 2000, early 2000s, I was new to the nonprofit IT space until I worked at Community IT, and I was impressed by Microsoft's generosity to nonprofits, and particularly software that would cost commercial enterprises thousands and thousands of dollars could be purchased for very little money. Had nonprofits that were running what was then called small business server in their network closet, and they had chosen Microsoft to do that because it was free to them and it was like a no-brainer. And over the years, then when Microsoft shifted, they still obviously sell a lot of software, but now they've really oriented themselves around services, where it's all cloud services, and they shifted their nonprofit away from software. So you can still get software from Microsoft at nonprofit discounts, but they really are trying to get nonprofits to use their Microsoft 365 services, and they have been very generous about that also. However, probably about 5 years ago, maybe a little bit more than that, they started retreating from some of their most generous offerings and took things away. And if you search our blogs, you can find, oh no, Microsoft's taking this away or that away. And it's all kind of in the rearview mirror now. But it is somewhat of a worrying trend to me that Microsoft, I don't think they're going to abandon the nonprofit space at all. And I want to emphasize that they remain very generous and that their services are still heavily discounted for nonprofits. And, it's a little, I think, it's not the best form for someone who's been getting something free or extremely inexpensively from Microsoft for years and years, when that gets taken away, to be like, wait a minute, what are you doing? I deserve this free software or something, so I want to be careful about that. At the same time, we're always in our clients' corners. And so when our clients lose access to something, we feel that pain, and we are and a little bit concerned. Is Microsoft, are they no longer as committed as they once were to providing these discounts and donations to the nonprofit space. I'd say they are still committed to it, but maybe with not quite as much exuberance as they used to have. So what up until July 1, the current state is that all qualified nonprofits, so we've definitely gone through it, that we have nonprofits that either are not qualified because of their IRS designation. You need to be a 501c3. That refers to the section of the tax code. But also you need to be a 501c3 that where your mission matches Microsoft's, again, fairly expansive, requirements. But we have a client, for example, that's an association of doctors, not the famous AMA, but a smaller association. Professional organizations are not covered by it. So they are a nonprofit, they are a 501c3, but because they're a professional organization, they do have to pay full freight, full commercial prices for their licenses. But if you are a qualified nonprofit, until now, you've been able to get 10 free Microsoft 365 Business Premium licenses. And this is a really nice bundle of licenses. It costs, I think, $22 per month, but you need to make you need to actually pay annually. So multiply that times 12. And that's what it costs for someone who's buying it commercially, $22 per month per user. And if you are a nonprofit, you can get that for $550 a month. So basically, in general, Microsoft divides the pricing, it makes you pay 25% of what the commercial people are paying. So 25% of $22 is $5.50 a month. And again, you need to pay that all at once at the beginning of the year for the year to get that price, but you can do that. But in addition to that, whatever that is, $550, should do the math real quick, $66 a year, you would get 10 free ones. And it's a great bundle. It gives you the Microsoft Desktop Suite, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, et cetera. It gives you access to the basic Microsoft services like Exchange Online, SharePoint, OneDrive, and it also gives you the desktop, the computer management or device management, which is called Intune, which allows you to manage the computer. That whole bundle, $66 a year at the discounted price, 4 times that at the commercial price. You used to get 10 free ones. So if you were a small nonprofit, you were basically getting your staff covered for free. It was great. Well, that's going away. They starting, when you look in your admin portal, you can see that there's an anniversary date on those 10 free licenses. And whenever that anniversary date occurs, whether it's after July 1, so if it's September 17th, but that's the anniversary date, on September 17th, Microsoft will convert those 10 free licenses to 10 nonprofit discounted licenses. And at that point, they will charge your credit card $660. Those 10 free licenses that are $66 a year at the discounted price. You'll get charged the $660 for that. I mean, it's not no money. If it's not budgeted for at all, $660 might sting quite a bit for a small nonprofit operating on a shoestring, but it's still exceptionally generous compared to the commercial prices. And for larger nonprofits that may have 10 free ones and 40 discounted ones, it just means that now they'll have 50 discounted ones and 0 free ones, but they're already used to paying the $66 a year for the discounted ones. They just have to pay for all of them.
So when that happens, you said they're just going to charge whatever
They'll just convert it.
They'll
convert it to the discount.
file.
That's what they've been telling us. Yeah, we haven't actually seen it happen yet because it's not happening until July 1. Right. And then after July 1, it depends on the anniversary date. So we'll know more once it actually happens. But that's what they're saying. They'll just convert it. Yeah.
And there won't be any disruption to the service or change in what's covered. It'll be the same license that you've been using. You're just going to pay that discounted rate for those.
That's 10. Right. It would behoove you to make sure that the credit card that's associated with that license is up to date, not expired, and is still an accurate credit card, because they will want to charge you the $660 for those 10 licenses. And if you're a small nonprofit that only has 5 people, you might only have 5 licenses.
Right.
And then those 5 would be converted. Now, when they were free, we had clients that had 5 staff that still were carrying 10 free business premium because they were free. Why not get 10 just in case they doubled in size? Like,
yeah,
who knows? It's free. Well, now it will make sense to say, well, we're going to be paying $66 each for these. Let's drop it down to the 5 that we actually need, so that we're not paying $660 for the year, but only $330 for the year. So those are the kinds of calculations that you might make with this anniversary date coming. But if you have an up-to-date credit card and you're using those 10 free licenses, they'll just charge that credit card and it'll just roll right over. And that's great, because that's not what they told us at first. So it's nice that that's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Although
and
if you're
how
not,
do you, can I just stop you? You
Yeah.
said that you look in your admin portal.
Yeah.
How do you find out like if your anniversary date is July 2nd,
yeah,
you need to be ready now.
Yeah, you should be looking at that now. That's right. That's right. So if you go to the admin portal, I'm going to go to one right now while I'm talking to you.
So it might be if you are a small organization and you don't have outsourced IT handling this for you, you must have a person at your organization that has that admin portal.
That's right. You need to be, obviously you're a Microsoft 365 customer if this concerns you. Otherwise, it doesn't concern you. If you're a Google customer, this is all just kind of interesting. But if you're a Microsoft 365 customer, you would go to admin.microsoft.com, HTTPS, admin.microsoft.com. And you would need to be a global admin or a billing admin. Most of our small clients just have the global admin privilege, but you can, in a larger infrastructure, you might have different admin roles. But then in there's a billing section, along with a users section and a teams and groups sections and a settings section. There's a billing section. And in the billing section is your products as a link that you can click on. And then sometimes, much more commonly these days, there might be multiple billing accounts. So if you're not seeing what you're expecting to see, you should look for a link that says change billing account and then choose another. There's usually only a couple, maybe 2 or 3 at the most. And you can switch to a different billing account. And then at some point you'll see, presumably this Microsoft 365 business premium nonprofit donation. And that's the license that's going to be changing. It's actually going to be disappearing. And that's the date you're going to look for. That's right. It's called the renewal or expiration date in the table that's there.
It sounds like that portal will also tell you that it's that business premium license as well.
That's
and
right.
So this only applies to people that have that license.
There are 2 licenses that are affected. We've been talking about the Microsoft 365 Business Premium, which you get 10 free of. The other one that's going to be affected, that will definitely affect quite a few of Community IT's clients, is Office 365 E1 licenses. And these have traditionally also been free. That is going away starting July 1. It was also announced about a month ago by Microsoft. So those will also convert to the discounted license. We recommend that instead of letting those convert to the discounted license, if you're a small nonprofit, meaning in this case, less than 300 people, that instead you get up to 300 Microsoft 365 Business Basic licenses. So Microsoft 365 Business Basic is pretty analogous in what it provides service-wise as Office 365 E1. Microsoft 365 Business Basic will continue to be available for free to qualified nonprofits up to 300 licenses. So it seems to us that the right thing to do is to procure the number of business basic licenses that you need, assign them to the users that are currently assigned the E1 licenses, unassign the E1 licenses. So the E1 licenses are now unused. Cancel that subscription. You do need to cancel it because even if you're not using it, when the anniversary date rolls around, they'll just say, "Oh, you want this," and then they'll sell you the discounted licenses, and you'll be paying, it's not that much money, but it's like $2 a user per month. So if you have 100 E1 licenses, that would be like $200 a month, which is substantial. But if you cancel it, then it will just go away at the anniversary date, and you'll no longer see an Office 365 E1 license in your billing section, and it will be replaced with the Microsoft 365 Business Basic licenses. And they have, again, the two different licenses are pretty analogous. They both include the SharePoint, the OneDrive, the Microsoft, the Exchange Online or Outlook, the email that is. All of those sort of basic services are included. The difference is that the E1 licenses, first of all, they're much older. They've been around for ages. So nonprofits that got into the Microsoft 365 10 years ago probably just had the E1 licenses because that's what was available. But also they were less limited. So large nonprofits, like thousands of users, can't just use the Business Basic instead because that is limited to 300 users. So they would need to work something else out. They might need to pay that discounted, right? If you're a large nonprofit, you should probably be reaching out to Microsoft for say nonprofit, like you're big enough that they'll probably give you one-on-one attention. But the small nonprofits, just replace those E1s with Business Basics. That's what we'll be doing for our clients. Cancel the E1 once they're all unassigned, and just let that anniversary date be the end of them. And then you'll be running with Business Basic for those people that are not needing the Business Premium because they don't need the Intune or the Office Desktop Suite. So that's the long and the short of it.
So it sounds like, so it doesn't sound difficult, right? You have to quote unquote,
pay attention.
You have to sign up for the new free licenses and assign those and get rid of the E1 licenses. So there's couple more steps to it as the administrator. They're not difficult, but you do need to do them. It's not going to roll over like
that's right.
The Business Premium ones are.
That's right. It's not, well, it will roll over, but you'll be paying for something that you don't need to pay for.
You could do better.
You could do better. Yeah. And it's a little complicated. You assign the Business Basic license. I like to actually assign it, save it. So now you've got a user with a user account with an E1 account, an E1 license, and a Business Basic license. Then I like to unassign the E1, and I actually like to open the list of apps and make sure that my unassigning the E1 didn't unassign the apps, because the apps, and when I use apps, I mean things like email, SharePoint, OneDrive. Those are the services. That all of those services are still there. They should all still be there. And then the E1's unassigned. You save that, and now you've got that user account just has the Business Basic, but they're still getting email. It's completely seamless because the Business Basic, Business Basic
from the user standpoint,
from the user's perspective. That's right.
They're not going to have a disruption.
And these licenses are typically assigned to, not usually to like full-time staff that are using company-owned devices, because usually those staff do need the Office Desktop Suite, do benefit from the device management so those people are usually getting the Business Premium licenses that you had 10 free of, and now you're going to be paying $66 a year for everything. But these Business Basic licenses would be assigned to sometimes people that are not full-time staff, like maybe volunteers, maybe to consultants that need a license to access certain resources, sometimes there's a need for us like a service account. We like to recommend shared mailboxes instead of user accounts for those, but there might be times when like you need a service account. Like we have a couple scan to email copiers, and the copier scans it and then sends it to the staff person's email address. That process might require logging in with a user account
License,
and it needs to be licensed, and so that
yeah.
might be a business basic account, because it's not like the copier is using a computer. It's just,
Needs Intune, yeah.
right. That might be an E1 license currently, and you could switch that to a business basic license.
Can I ask, I guess like a follow-up question, for the second scenario? So you've got the E1 licenses and you need to switch them over to the Microsoft Business Basic.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're on vacation and your expiration date is July 3rd. And so it does switch over.
Yeah.
And you want to put in place what you just described. You want to get the business basics and put them in. You can still do that. Like you're going to pay for a month of your discounted E1 licenses, and then you can reassign them. Is that
I don't know what so this is again a little bit like, let's see what they do. But generally at this point, Microsoft has been pushing very much more annual payments and annual commitments. So you might end up paying for
a year.
If you catch it right away, I would think Microsoft would be willing to like switch it out. Like I don't think of Microsoft as that kind of, oh no, you missed the deadline by 10 minutes.
You paid it, you bought it. Yeah.
That's right. We've had good luck with Microsoft honoring those kinds of things, but it is something that generally now we're seeing more of these annual payments, which is I have some clients who are like every month they're reconciling the same credit card charges, and it's like a pain, it's like they have to get the invoice, send it to the client. So it's nice to do it annually, and in a lot of ways it's not that much money. I was going to say another place where the business basic license could get used, and where the E1 license would have been used in the past, is if a staff departs. We might want to convert their mailbox to a shared mailbox, but if we need to keep their OneDrive around for like 6 months, we do need to assign a license to them to that. It's a locked account. Like there's no log on allowed. It's blocked, it's called, but other people might be connecting to that OneDrive account through a share. And so you assign a business basic license to that, and it's free. It's a free license, so it's not that big a deal to do that. But yeah, that's where the business basic licenses are going to be handy.
So in that case, I guess that's another question for me, like more on the accounting side. Would you say in general, it sounds like you could have different expiration dates. Like if you wanted to quote unquote purchase, like procure that free license mid-year for that person who left and assign it to them for that OneDrive account. It sounds like it's more common that all of the license come up all at the same time for the year, but you could have staggered expiration dates.
So the way Microsoft generally does that is that the particular SKU or license name identifier has an expiration date associated with it. So if your date is September 17th, okay, on September 17th, they charge you for those. And again, business basic would be free, but let's talk about the business premium. Those business premiums are gonna, there's 10 of them. You're gonna be charged $660 for those 10, right? And that's what your credit card's gonna be charged. And then if you lose a staff person and don't need that 10th, it's just sitting there. You paid for it already, and it just sits there not used. If you add someone in, let's say you hire someone in February, because you go up to 11 staff. So then you would add that 11th business premium, and they would charge you $330.
Okay.
Whatever.
So then they would get you all on the same schedule.
You're still on the same schedule. You pay the prorated amount for to get that person's 11th license paid for the rest of the year, you pay the
And then
prorated
all
amount,
11
and
come
then
up.
all 11
Yeah.
come up again at the same time. Yeah.
Oh my God, that sounds much easier to deal with.
It is better than the month to month. It's a little bit less flexible. So for
Sure.
nonprofits that are constantly adding and subtracting staff, um, if they're always adding and always subtracting, that's good. Where we see the pinch, and this is again where maybe business basics are more attractive. If you have a strong intern season in the summer, say, where you suddenly have 20 new people, but you're not going to carry them after the summer. If you buy them the business premiums, are you signing up for the annual? It is possible, I believe, but this now I'm not sure whether you can do it with Microsoft or whether you need to go through a reseller. But if you go through and Community IT is a reseller of Microsoft products, it's the same price and everything, but you get invoiced by us,
Mm-hmm.
and we pass the cost through.
Convenience.
Yeah, and if we're a reseller, I know that we can have two different lines. One that's the annual, that's cheaper, and then another one that's monthly. That's actually more. Microsoft now charging more for that. But you do have Microsoft does provide the option of paying monthly, and even having a monthly commitment. But then I think it's like 20% more.
But if
So
you
they're
only needed them for those 20 interns for 2 months in the summer, that
probably
would
worth it.
be less than paying for a year for them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, anything else that people should look out for? I know that it seems that Microsoft has clarified this a couple of times already since they made the announcement. So we're going to keep updating. We have a blog post that also goes through all these different types of licenses and what's going to happen to them on your expiration date. We'll keep updating that as we learn more. If there's a new big announcement, we'll do a new post on that. But I guess for people who are looking at this, the takeaways would be go into that admin portal, find out when your expiration date is, and figure out which type of licenses you have, and then make your plan for what you're going to do about them and budget accordingly.
Yeah, I said that's right. Replacing the E1s with the business basic is something that you can do really at any time. Like you could do it now.
Yeah.
And not worry about the fact that the expiration is not for a long time, because you're replacing something that's free for now with something that's going to be free, for a long time, hopefully. This is not something that Microsoft's doing constantly, but it seems like every few years they do adjust, usually in the direction we don't like, the generosity of their discounts to the nonprofit sector. So we'll see. But still very nice, still very generous, and still a lot better than if you were paying full freight for this stuff.
And we have other webinars and blog posts and podcasts about Microsoft as a stable industry standard. If you're a nonprofit and you want to be working in something that there are lots of consultants that can help you with, lots of MSPs, outsourced IT, you could hire an IT person who can run it for you. Going with something super standard often makes a lot of sense. And it has these discounts, so it is still
it's still a great platform, and it's one that we would recommend to a client that's just starting out. As obviously it's either that or Google. But I think if you're a nonprofit that has Windows computers, and unless you're in the education space or maybe international aid space is another one where there's a lot of Google use. But if you're on Apple, it's different. If you're in schools, it's different. But I do think it's a great platform, and it remains exceptionally economical for nonprofits, for sure. It's just not quite as generous as it was before this announcement. Too bad.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great place to leave it. Thank you for helping clarify what we could clarify today, Steve. I
hope it was helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Carolyn.
Community IT does these free webinars and podcasts for our community, and we love sharing our knowledge and experience. If you have more questions or are having trouble with your IT at your nonprofit, please get in touch with us on our website, www.communityit.com, so we can start a conversation or schedule an assessment. Downloading any of our free resources there will get you signed up for our webinar reminders, and you can attend our next webinar in real time and ask our experts your own questions. If you love podcasts, please subscribe and leave us a rating to help others find this leadership resource for nonprofits.